What if the most dangerous mistake in gold and silver right now isn't choosing the wrong metal, but choosing the right metal in a way that triggers the exact sequence risk that ruins retirements? Because one sharp drop at the wrong time doesn't just hurt your account, it can force withdrawals, force decisions, and lock in losses in a way you don't recover from, especially if you're living off your savings or building toward that moment. So here's what you're getting in this video, clean and simple, right now. I'm going to show you what safer actually means when your job is protecting savings, how gold and silver behave differently when stress hits, and the two-part framework that makes this decision obvious without guessing the next headline. Stay to the end and you'll know when gold is the safer choice, when silver has a place, and when the safest move is not adding to either one yet. And before anyone gets distracted by the wrong question, no, this isn't which one will moon. If you're protecting savings, the mission is not excitement. The mission is staying solvent, staying calm, and staying consistent through volatility that makes other people do something stupid. Let's define the one word that destroys most conversations: safe. Most people use safe like it means won't go down. That is not safety. Safety is you can hold it through volatility without being forced into a decision that permanently damages your future. That's it. If something drops 8% and you're fine, it might be safe for you. If it drops 8% and you start panic selling, it's not safe for you, even if it's the best asset on earth. So when you ask gold versus silver, what's safer? You're not really asking a metals question. You're asking a behavior question. You're asking, which choice is less likely to bully me into panic? Now let's do one quick reality check that almost nobody does. There is no such thing as a safe asset at an unsafe position size. If you size something so large that a normal drawdown changes your mood, your sleep, and your decisions, it is not safe. Not gold, not silver, not anything. So the first layer of safety is not gold versus silver. It's structure, role, and size. And this is why so many people get hurt even when their thesis is right. They choose the right idea and then they overdose on it. Now we can talk about metals honestly. Gold and silver are not the same asset in different sizes. Gold is deeper, more liquid, and behaves more like monetary insurance. Silver is smaller, thinner, and behaves like a lever because when flows hit, it moves farther and faster. That doesn't make silver bad. It makes silver a different tool, and which is safer depends on what job you need the tool to do. So here's the first and most important framework. This is framework 1. Keep it. Everything else is detail. Metals can play two roles in a serious portfolio: stability insurance, upside participation. Gold is usually better for stability insurance. Silver is usually better for upside participation when used small and deliberately. If you confuse those roles, you get punished. If you buy silver because you want stability, you picked the wrong tool. If you buy gold expecting it to behave like a growth stock, you'll get bored, then impatient, then you'll do the wrong thing at the wrong time. Roll first, then metal. Now, framework 2. This is the filter that stops self-sabotage, the 3-question safety test. Question 1, what role are you buying it for? Stability insurance or upside participation? Be precise. Both is usually a sign you're emotionally attached. Question 2, if it drops fast, will you be tempted to sell? Not, I'm tough. Not, I've seen it all. Be honest about your nervous system because nervous systems sell bottoms. Question 3, can you ignore it for a week? If you can't ignore it, it's too big for the role you claim it plays. That's the entire safety test. If you can answer those 3 honestly, you're already ahead of most people who talk about metals online because most people make metals decisions the way they buy lottery tickets. They buy a feeling. Now, I'll keep one line here so we don't waste time later. This is market structure education, not personal financial advice. You decide what fits your situation. My job is to keep you from predictable mistakes. Now let's make this real, because frameworks only matter if they map to lived experience. Picture 2 people, same age, same savings, same goal, protect purchasing power. Person A buys gold as stability insurance. They buy it because they want something that tends to behave like a calmer store value hedge. They don't expect fireworks, they expect a seatbelt. Person B buys silver for the same reason, stability. They heard silver's money too, and they like the upside story, they treat it like a seatbelt. Then the market does what markets do. Silver drops sharply in a short period, not because the world ended, not because the thesis died, because silver is volatile and flow sensitive, and person B starts checking prices like it's a heart monitor. They check at breakfast, they check at lunch, they check before bed. Their mood begins to track the metal. That is the moment silver stops being a metal and becomes a psychological tax. That's what unsafe looks like in real life. Gold can still move and still drop, but gold usually doesn't create that same intensity as quickly, unless you sized it wrong. So when we ask which is safer, we're asking which one is less likely to hijack your nervous system. For most people protecting savings, gold wins. Not because gold is magical, because gold's volatility is typically lower, and its surprise factor is usually smaller than silver's. Now, I'm going to give you the conclusion early so you can test everything I say against it. Gold is usually safer as stability insurance. Silver is usually not safe as stability insurance. but it can be useful as upside participation in small size. And the safest move is roll clarity plus honest sizing, not predicting which metal wins next week. Now let's answer the title properly. Gold versus silver in 2026. Which is safer for retirees right now? First, I'm going to broaden it slightly so it doesn't lose people. If you're building or protecting savings, especially in retirement or near it, this applies. Because the truth is, retirement isn't a number, it's a risk profile. If you're drawing from your portfolio, sequence risk matters. If you're close to drawing from your portfolio, sequence risk matters. Sequence risk is what happens when you get a big drawdown early in retirement and withdrawals lock in losses, permanently lowering the base you compound from. That's the real danger. So when you choose metals, you should think less about return and more about behavior under stress. Now let's walk through the 3 environments that matter most in 2026 with one tell for each. Not predictions, just tells. Environment 1. Slow grind. Purchasing power anxiety, policy uncertainty, nothing exploding. This is the year where people feel uneasy, but life continues. Markets move, rates move, headlines change, and inflation expectations come and go. No dramatic collapse, just persistent uncertainty. In this environment, gold is typically the safer retiree metal as stability insurance. Tell, gold tends to behave like a steadier hedge. Silver tends to demand attention with bigger swings. If your goal is I want protection without drama, gold fits that role better. Environment 2. Risk on markets, stocks strong, optimism high, safe havens not the main story. In this environment, neither metal feels emotionally rewarding because you watch other assets run. This is where people make the worst mistake. They take their stability tools and demand entertainment from them. Gold is still the safer base if your role is insurance. Tell, if your impulse is to abandon metals because they're boring, your role was wrong or your expectations were wrong. Insurance is supposed to be boring. If you need fireworks, that's a different role, and silver belongs there, small, if you can tolerate it. Environment 3. Shock risk, geopolitics, sudden policy shifts, or market stress. This is where everyone thinks metals will be a smooth elevator up. Sometimes gold does move fast upward in shock moments. Sometimes it doesn't, immediately. Markets are messy, but behavior matters. In early shock moments, gold is often the first choice hedge. Silver can move too, but silver is more likely to whipsaw because it's thinner and more flow sensitive. Sometimes in initial stress, silver can get pulled into raise cash behavior even if the long-term thesis is bullish. Tell. In the first shock wave, gold tends to hold steadier. Silver tends to overshoot and punish late chasers. That doesn't mean silver can't run after. It means silver's ride is rougher, and rough rides are what cause retiree mistakes. Now, if you want a simple sentence that explains the entire difference, here it is. Gold is the seatbelt. Silver is the turbo. Both can help. Only one is designed to keep you calm. Now let's address a point that confuses smart people. How can silver be riskier as an asset but sometimes safer for the portfolio? Because portfolio safety isn't about which asset is calmer. It's about how your total exposure changes when you add it. Silver is more sensitive, so a smaller allocation can still provide meaningful participation if metals run. If you use silver as upside participation, you can potentially keep the position smaller than you would with gold and still feel like you have exposure. Smaller size can reduce portfolio risk. But, and this is the part most people ignore, only if you actually keep it small, and only if you don't treat it like stability insurance. Because if you take a volatile asset and size it like a stable one, you just built a panic machine. Now here's a mini scene that explains this perfectly. Imagine 2 people want some metals exposure. Person A buys a large chunk of silver because they want protection and they like the upside story. Person B buys a smaller chunk of silver strictly as upside participation, fully expecting volatility, fully willing to hold through swings because it's sized small enough not to matter day to day. Same metal, different structure, different outcome. One person panics on the first hard drop, the other person shrugs and says, that's the nature of this tool, that's safety, not the asset itself. Safety is structure. Now let's talk about the single most common retiree mistake in metals, making decisions on emotionally charged days. When the headline is scary, your brain wants certainty. It wants relief. It wants control. That's when people make big permanent decisions while their nervous system is activated. They buy high because they're scared, or they sell low because they're scared. Same emotion, different mistake. So, here's a rule that saves people from themselves. You don't make major metals decisions on the day the headline scares you. You make them on calm days with a plan when your nervous system is not lit up. That rule is not about being smart, it's about being human. Now let's talk about the retiree pain part more directly, because this is where the stakes become real. If you are withdrawing from your portfolio, volatility isn't just uncomfortable. It's mathematically dangerous. A large drop early in retirement plus withdrawals can permanently lower the amount your portfolio can recover. That's why safe matters more to you than upside. This is why gold tends to be safer. It's usually less volatile than silver. Less volatility means fewer moments where you feel forced to act. Fewer forced moments means fewer permanent mistakes. And permanent mistakes, not market dips, are what destroy retirements. Now, I want to make this extremely practical. If you're still listening, do this one thing mentally. Don't ask, which metal is best? Ask, which role am I trying to fill? If your role is stability insurance, gold is usually safer. If your role is upside participation, silver can be used, small, if you can tolerate the ride. Now we're going to apply the 3-question safety test to real-life situations because that's how it becomes usable. Question 1, stability insurance or upside participation? If your honest answer is stability insurance, gold is the default. Not because silver is bad, because silver is a rough tool for a calm job. Question 2, if it drops fast, will you be tempted to sell? This question is brutal because it forces honesty. If you know you will be tempted, silver is not safe for you at that size. Gold might still not be safe at an oversized allocation, but gold gives you more room. Question 3, can you ignore it for a week? Here's why this question matters so much. If you can't ignore it, you're not holding an asset. You're holding an anxiety trigger. And anxiety triggers force bad decisions. If you can ignore it, you're more likely to stay rational. Now, let's make the ignore it for a week test concrete without turning it into a gimmick. Imagine your metal's position drops significantly. Can you still go about your week normally? Can you still enjoy your day? Can you still sleep? If not, it's too big. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. Your portfolio is supposed to serve your life, not hijack it. Now, I want to give you one more mini scene because stories increase retention, and this one is common. A person nearing retirement watches metals run. They feel like they missed the move. They buy silver because it looks cheaper than gold and the upside story feels bigger. Then silver whips, it drops fast, they panic, they sell, and then weeks later silver rebounds and they feel betrayed. They don't feel betrayed by the market, they feel betrayed by their own expectations because they bought a turbo and expected a seatbelt. And that mismatch, tool versus expectation, is where most pain comes from. Now, I'm going to give you a compact, clip-worthy truth that you can replay when you're tempted to chase. Your goal is not to catch every rally. Your goal is to avoid the decision that permanently damages your future. That's retirement investing in one sentence. Now let's address the US versus Australia angle. Tight, no detour. Your local currency changes the ride. Metals can look calm in one currency and chaotic in another. So your safer choice must be sized for your real experience in your currency. Roll first, then size for your reality. That's all you need. Now, there's one more trap that hits people in 2026, narrative addiction. Silver is narrative heavy. You'll hear about industrial demand, shortages, squeezes, energy transitions, and this is the moment. Some of those narratives may have truth, but truth does not protect you from volatility, and volatility is what forces retiree mistakes. So the rule is simple. Don't buy silver to calm your fears. Silver is not calming. Buy gold for calm. Use silver for controlled upside if you truly accept the volatility. Now you might be thinking, so should retirees avoid silver completely? No, that's another extreme. The right answer is retirees should avoid using silver as stability insurance. Silver can have a place as upside participation if it's sized small and emotionally contained. If silver's swings won't change your decisions, it can be used. If silver's swings will change your decisions, it's not safe. Now let's talk about how to implement this without drowning in complexity. You don't need 10 rules, you need one sentence you obey. Here it is. Gold is for stability, silver is for upside. Don't mix the roles. That's it. Now I'm going to address one objection that always comes up, but silver is undervalued compared to gold. Maybe. But undervalued is not the same as safe. Undervalued can stay undervalued a long time and the ride can be violent. Safe is about the ride. If you can't live with the ride, you don't get to enjoy the outcome. That's not pessimism. That's structure. Now let's bring the whole thing into a tight decision guide you can actually use this week. If you're asking, which is safer right now? Do this. First, decide your role. If you want stability insurance, choose gold. If you want upside participation, consider silver in small size. Second, run the 3-question safety test. Roll clarity, drop tolerance, ignore for a week test. If you fail anyone, reduce size or choose gold. That's the game. Now let's add one final piece that makes this truly retiree safe, the calm day rule. If you decide to add metals, you add on calm days, not fear days. You don't buy because the internet is loud. You don't sell because the internet is loud. You build the position when you're calm, then you let it do its job. This isn't about being a genius. It's about not self-sabotaging. Now, I'm going to give you 3 short tells that help you stay disciplined in the 3 environments we discussed. These are not new frameworks. These are one-liners you can remember. Slow grind environment. If you're craving excitement, don't use metals to entertain yourself. Gold is the calmer insurance. Risk-on environment. If you feel impatient, remember insurance is supposed to be boring. Don't abandon your seatbelt because the road is smooth. Shock environment. If volatility spikes, don't chase silver's first move. Gold is usually the steadier first responder. That's it. Now, I'm going to close with a tight recap and a single action you can take today. Gold is usually safer for people protecting savings because it's typically less volatile and easier to hold without panic. Silver is usually not safe as a stability anchor, but it can be useful as controlled upside participation in small size if you accept the ride. And the real safety comes from role clarity and honest sizing, not from guessing which metal wins the next headline cycle. If you want one clip-worthy line to remember, it's this. If a position makes you check the price like a heartbeat monitor, it's not safe. If this helped you see the difference between stability insurance and upside participation, drop Roll Then Metal in the comments so I know you're here for structure, not noise. Hit like and subscribe if you want more market structure breakdowns that protect people from predictable mistakes. This is market structure education, not personal financial advice.